Hey there, Pet Summer Squad. In my live stream last week, I asked what kind of video you guys would like to see, and there was an overwhelming response to talk about the time that I lost my unconverted MSP Poogle on Neopets. So this is a very dramatic story in my life. It had a huge impact on me for a year. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. The beginning of the story is 2007. Neopets 2.0 had just launched and the Neopets pound was closed. During this time, a lot of people couldn't exchange pets anymore, but people wanted to make plans for when the pound was back open and have goals and stuff like that. So I joined this off-site forum about adopting pets, and there was a huge culture about making applications for pets. I had an empty slot on my account, and I really wanted a Malevolent Sentient Poogle. It had always been my dream. For those of you who are not familiar with the MSP Poogles on Neopets, in order to get one of these, you need to take your pet to the library, which is an expensive activity on Neopets, and then there's a random chance that they'll be turned into something else. Either a different color, a stat increase, different sex. And there's an incredibly small chance they'll become a Malevolent Sentient Plushy Poogle. It's a library only color, so it's incredibly rare. So there's a huge culture about adopting these, and there's few of them on the site, so the economy is really in the favor of them. I really wanted one. It was my lifetime goal on Neopets. At this point, I had been playing Neopets for about 4 or 5 years, and so that was really important to me. This is what I wanted. I was a sophomore in high school when I started applying for this MSP Poogle. It was very well named. The name is Hazakawa, so it's short words. It's snippy. It's shortened so many different ways. And so I started this application for this Neopet. Because the pound was down, the deadline kept getting extended because the user couldn't give it to a new person, so they kept extending the deadline. I kept it up for a year. I was applying for this pet. What it meant was you would take a pet page and you would list out the character design that you had and all of your art and all the fan art that you gathered and backstory and your goals and your plans. And I got really into it. Hazakawa became my number one original character. To this day, I probably have the best understanding of Hazakawa as I have of any of my other original characters that I've ever had, and I had him for such a short amount of time in comparison to these other characters. My design for Hazakawa was something that's impacted me so much, but I've used this design in a few ways. I even adapted it to a Stickhound. I've mentioned her before on this channel, which was a Halloween Skeeth. The Halloween Skeeth design so mimicked my design for Hazakawa that I was freaked when it was released. I was like, oh my god, Neopets is copying me. They took my color palette, they took my aesthetic. It was my entry level to being in love with Halloween Skeeths was my relationship with Hazakawa. The deadline kept getting extended on this adoption process, so people kept dropping out, and at the end it was just me that was interested in this very well named unconverted MSP Poogle, which was my dream. The owner actually at the end, she was very hesitant. The pound reopened and she didn't want to hand him over. I understand why, because it was a really boss Neopet, amazing Battle-Dome stats, just an incredible Neopet all around. But hey, I've been applying for a year. You can't just lead someone on like that. The first time I made a Neopets related YouTube video was in 2006. I did it very sporadically throughout high school. I didn't have very good equipment. I had a handheld camera, and I loved it so hard. And I didn't edit. I would just talk at the camera and then upload it and say mean things about people. Every once in a while people would message me on Neopets and I felt like a big old celebrity. I loved every part of it. I stopped logging on frequently after I received Hazakawa. That was my big goal. And once it was accomplished, I was like, okay, there's kind of nothing else to do here. So I started playing a lot of World of Warcraft. And I would log on maybe once or twice a week. During this time, I was a junior in high school. I got my braces off, playing a lot of World of Warcraft. Very exciting stuff. I had a lot of privileges in high school. Like, I was on the newspaper staff. I was taking all of the web media classes. So I had a lot of unfettered access to the internet while I was in school. Like, if I wasn't, like, sleeping, then I was, like, playing Neopets or, like, Pandemic. I played a lot of Pandemic when I was in high school, and I would just spend hours on Wikipedia. One day during, some of my unstructured time, I decided to, check Neopets.com. And I will just, like, never forget this. I logged into Neopets, and I immediately knew something was wrong, because when you log into Neopets, your active Neopet greets you. And instead of it being Hazakawa, who was always my active Neopet after I finally got him, it was my unconverted Uzuki girl, Imprimis. And I was just like, oh my god, like my heart stopped. Like, I should not be being greeted by Imprimis right now. I should be being greeted by Haza, because he's my guy. My heart stopped. The first thing you do in that situation is you check your profile page. So I clicked over on my profile page, and Hazakawa was not there. So after I checked my profile page and Hazakawa wasn't there, I checked my bank account, and it was cleared out. I lost 4 million Neo points, which now I'm like, you child, you know nothing. But at the time, it was really a big deal to me. Like, 4 million Neo points very well could have been the most Neo points that I'd ever made. I tried to go by the rest of my day without really thinking about it. And then when I got home, my account had been frozen. So then I went through the process of unfreezing it. As soon as my account was unfrozen and I had access to it again, I saw the Neo mails back and forth that Hazakawa had been traded for a Battle Dome pet, even though it clearly said on his profile page, this pet is not up for adoption and will never be up for trade. So, I tried to get in contact with the person who is his owner to this very day, and she was unwilling to negotiate with me. If this happened today, I'd be like, oh my god, you totally bought him, how dare you? But at the time, it was like very new, this idea of having an unconverted pet stolen and sold for money. Like, if it happened in the year 2016, it would definitely have been like a purchase thing, but because it happened in 2008, I definitely believe that somebody just guessed that my password was Aisha. Like, for years, Neopets.com had been like, Julie, that's a terrible password. You should definitely have a better password. And I was like, nah, this is a really great idea. Nobody will guess a password that's against the rules. It was a terrible idea. For the record, I don't want you guys to, bombard the new user that owns Hazakawa. Don't do that. I would have lost Hazakawa anyways, because the following year my account was frozen, and I lost that entire account, including my unconverted Uzuki pets. It's kind of water under the bridge. I would say that I'm over it and it wouldn't affect me, but while I was doing research on this video, I searched Hazakawa in the Neopets search bar, and I must have misspelt it, because what came up was a green Grarl, and I had that feeling all over again that he's been stolen from me. Because I was like, oh my god, somebody took him and turned him into a green girl. Oh, my child. That's not the case. I just misspelled his name. He is very much still actively an unconverted MSP Poogle, and the user who did get him logs on pretty regularly. So, if Hazakawa would have remained on my account, he would have been frozen and accessible to the entire Neopets community. But since that user took him on, he still exists. Of course, the person that was very upset about this was the user who gave me Hazakawa because of the application process. The original owner was super upset, and she tried to get involved too, and she also tried to negotiate with the new user, and then my YouTube viewers tried to, and it was just not a good situation. And the entire scenario made me wash my hands of Neopets for 2 years. I was just okay, I've got World of Warcraft and it doesn't have any of this kind of drama, so I'm just gonna stick to World of Warcraft. But then, of course, I came back. I mean, you can't hold me back from the Neopets. I always found my way back. So yeah, that's my story about the time that I got an unconverted MSP Poogle and lost him forever. Since then, I've had the opportunity to apply for like a whole bunch of other MSP Poogles. As much as I would really like to have one, there's like only one for me, and he belongs to somebody else now, and that person seems to be really happy to have him. So, I mean, it's okay. It doesn't affect me as strongly anymore. I really love the Neopets I have right now. How about that? Club Crusher's queen. I have like another story that's kind of like this. At the time, I lost my Fairy Queen doll, which was like a really big deal for like a 12-year-old. Definitely tell me about experiences that you had like this. Thankfully, this didn't scare me away from YouTube altogether, because I'm pretty sure the thing that put the target on my back in the first place was having a YouTube channel where like I actively talked about my pets. I'm pretty sure that's what did it. So like thankfully that didn't last for very long, and I learned my lesson. All of my passwords are like super secure now for like all of my accounts. Like, moral of the story is, don't use Aisha as your password when Aisha is the name of a pet on that website. Thanks for watching. Like this video if we all learned a lesson today. Subscribe if you want to see more Neopets related content. Alright, bye!